Our relationship, I think at that point, things were coming down on us pretty hard, and we started to take care of each other a lot more.
Yeah. We did 72 of those.
Behind every laugh, there's a story. For Tom and Dick Smothers, that story began with heartbreak and ended with history. This is the journey of two brothers who turned pain into power, and in doing so, changed the face of television forever. On a warm September evening in 1967, American television witnessed a moment that would echo through history. As The Who took the stage on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, their performance of My Generation built to a fever pitch. Then, without warning, drummer Keith Moon detonated explosives hidden in his drum kit. The blast was deafening, singeing guitarist Pete Townshend's hair and sending shrapnel into Moon's arm. For a fleeting moment, the broadcast cut out, leaving millions of viewers in stunned silence. What kind of show could unleash such chaos? This was no ordinary variety program. It was a cultural earthquake, and at its epicenter were two brothers who dared to challenge the status quo. Tom and Dick Smothers weren't born into the spotlight. Their early years were marked by a profound loss that would shape their lives and their comedy. Their father, Major Thomas B. Smothers Jr., was a West Point graduate who served with the 45th Infantry Regiment in the Philippines during World War II. When Japan invaded in 1941, he was captured during the grueling Bataan Death March, a 65-mile trek that claimed countless lives. He survived nearly 3 years in the Cabanatuan POW camp, where starvation and disease were relentless. In December 1944, he was packed onto the Oryoku Maru, a notorious hell ship, only to face another tragedy when American bombers, unaware of the ship's cargo, sank it. Major Smothers survived that attack, but his journey ended on another ship in April 1945, when he succumbed to illness en route to Korea. Buried at sea, he left behind his wife, Ruth, and their young sons, Tom, born in 1937, and Dick, born in 1938. His posthumous Purple Heart and Bronze Star were small comfort to a family forever changed. Raised in California, Tom and Dick leaned on each other, their bond forged in the absence of their father. Their mother worked tirelessly to provide, and the brothers found solace in music and humor. Tom, with his playful charm, picked up the guitar while Dick taught himself the bass to keep up. In college, Tom formed the Casual Quintet, a folk group where the seeds of their comedy were planted. Between songs, they'd trade jabs, with Tom playing the lovable fool and Dick the exasperated straight man. Audiences loved it, laughing as much at their sibling squabbles as at their music. What began as a way to fill time became their signature style, with Tom's line, "Mom always liked you best," striking a universal chord. Their big break came in 1959 at the Purple Onion, a cozy San Francisco club known for launching new talent. Booked for just 2 weeks, the brothers captivated crowds with their blend of folk tunes and witty banter, stretching their gig into a 9-month sensation. One night, when a flamenco dancer was injured, Tom and Dick stepped in, their impromptu performance stealing the show and proving their versatility. By the end, they were earning $2,000 a week, a far cry from the $2 a night they'd made just months earlier. In 1961, their album The Smothers Brothers at the Purple Onion hit the charts, catapulting them to national fame and catching the eye of television executives. By the mid-1960s, CBS was desperate to shake up its Sunday night lineup. NBC's Bonanza was a juggernaut, drawing a quarter of America's TV audience and crushing CBS's previous attempts like Harry Mason and The Gary Moore Show. The network needed something bold to attract younger viewers, and the Smothers Brothers were their answer. On February 5th, 1967, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour premiered, billed as a typical variety show. But Tom and Dick had other plans. With creative control in their contract, a rare concession born of CBS's desperation, they turned the show into a platform for sharp satire and social commentary. Within weeks, it was beating Bonanza in the ratings, thrilling advertisers and proving the brothers' gamble had paid off. The show's daring spirit was evident in its guest list. In September 1967, they invited Pete Seeger, a folk legend who'd been blacklisted from television for 17 years due to his political views. His song, Waist Deep in the Big Muddy, a pointed critique of President Lyndon Johnson's Vietnam War policies, was initially cut by CBS censors. But Tom Smothers wasn't one to back down. He leaked the censorship to the press, sparking public outrage. The network relented, and on February 25, 1968, Ziegler performed the song Uncensored before millions, a landmark moment that showed television could be a battleground for free speech. Did the brothers know the risk they were taking, or were they just following their instincts? Their boldness didn't stop there. The show became a haven for counterculture icons, featuring bands that mainstream TV shunned. The Doors performed Touch Me with a full orchestra. Jefferson Airplane sang Crown of Creation, a haunting reflection on nuclear fears. And Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth captured the era's unrest. The Who's explosive performance was just one of many that brought raw energy into American homes. Even Jimi Hendrix, at a 1969 Los Angeles Forum concert, dedicated his song I Don't Live Today to the Smothers Brothers, a nod to their role in amplifying the counterculture's voice. How did two clean-cut brothers become the unlikely champions of rebellion? The show's impact went beyond music. Its writing room was a crucible for talent, nurturing young comedians like Steve Martin, Rob Reiner, and Bob Einstein, who'd later shape American comedy with shows like Saturday Night Live and All in the Family. The Smothers Brothers' blend of humor and social commentary set a new standard, paving the way for modern satirists like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. A 2002 documentary, Smothered, the censorship struggles of the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, and David Bianculli's book, Dangerously Funny, highlight how their battles with CBS reshaped television's boundaries. In 1968, the show made history again by airing the Beatles' promotional films for Hey Jude and Revolution, introducing Americans to what we now call music videos. Filmed at Twickenham Studios with a 300-person choir and a full orchestra, these clips were more than performances. They were cultural moments, and the Smothers Brothers brought them to the masses. But with every bold move, the brothers faced pushback. CBS censors scrutinized every word, every guest, every joke. The brothers fought back, often weaving their battles with the network into the show itself, turning censorship into comedy. How long could they keep this up before the network struck back? The stage was set for chaos on September 17, 1967, as The Who unleashed their anthem, My Generation, on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. Keith Moon, with a glint of mischief, detonated explosives hidden in his drum kit, sending a shockwave through the studio. Smoke swirled, shrapnel flew, and Pete Townshend's hair caught fire. The audience froze, then erupted in wild cheers. But the cost was steep. Townshend's hearing was permanently damaged, a reminder of the high stakes of rebellion. This wasn't just a performance, it was a warning shot in a brewing war between the Smothers Brothers and CBS. Could a single explosion signal the unraveling of their groundbreaking show? Tom and Dick Smothers had turned their variety show into a cultural lightning rod, blending folk music with biting satire that spoke to a restless generation. Their stage was a haven for voices rarely heard on primetime: anti-war activists, counterculture icons, and comedians who dared to poke the establishment. But CBS, catering to an older, more conservative audience, grew uneasy. Every episode was a gamble, with censors dissecting every word, every note, every glance. The brothers, undaunted, leaned into the fight, determined to amplify the voices of change no matter the cost. One such voice belonged to Joan Baez, the folk singer whose music carried the weight of the peace movement. On March 30th, 1969, she stepped onto the stage, her heart set on honoring her husband, David Harris, who faced 3 years in prison for refusing the Vietnam draft. Her songs Sweet Sir Galahad and The Green, Green Grass of Home were meant to carry a message of defiance. But CBS slashed her introduction, allowing only a vague mention of Harris's imprisonment, stripping away its political fire. As Baez sang, her voice soared, but the silence of her censored words lingered. How could a network mute a message so vital to the times? The censorship grew bolder. In September 1968, Harry Belafonte prepared to perform Lord, Don't Stop the Carnival, a song woven with images of the violent 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The visuals were raw, unflinching, a stark reflection of a nation in turmoil. CBS, fearing backlash, axed the segment entirely, replacing it with Republican campaign ads. The irony was biting. A song about freedom was silenced to make way for political propaganda. The Smothers Brothers watched as their vision was dismantled piece by piece, yet they refused to yield. Their resistance took a playful, rebellious form. In one daring sketch, Tom donned the role of a censor, wielding oversized scissors to shred scripts, leaving only silence on screen. The message was clear. If they couldn't speak truth, they'd expose the absurdity of being gagged. But even this clever jab was too much for CBS, who pulled the sketch, deeming it a threat to their image. The writers, a young crew including future stars like Steve Martin and Rob Reiner, felt the weight of constant scrutiny. Every joke was a battle, every lyric a potential landmine. Yet the brothers kept pushing, turning censorship into a punchline. Could their wit outsmart the network's iron grip? The game grew riskier. CBS tightened its leash, demanding scripts 10 days in advance, picking apart every line for hints of controversy. The writers, exhausted, faced endless revisions, often rewriting entire segments hours before air. Tom and Dick, ever defiant, played a dangerous game of their own. They'd submit safe tapes for review, then slip in bold edits at the last second, sneaking past the censors. It was a high-stakes dance, thrilling viewers but infuriating the network. Whispers spread that even President Lyndon Johnson had called CBS in the dead of night, demanding control over the brothers' sharp-tongued show. By early 1969, the tension was unbearable. On April 4th, CBS dropped the axe, canceling the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour despite its top 10 ratings. The official reason? A missed tape deadline. But the truth was undeniable. The show's fearless take on war, politics, and civil rights had crossed a line CBS wouldn't tolerate. Tom Smothers later said it was a way to choke off our voice, a calculated move to silence their message. The cancellation wasn't just a business decision, it was a clash over who controlled America's airwaves. Did the brothers push too far, or was CBS too afraid of their truth? The fallout was swift and fierce. The New York Times ran a blistering editorial calling the brothers hostages of their own creativity. Fans flooded CBS with letters, protests erupted, and artists rallied behind Tom and Dick. The fight wasn't just about a show anymore, it was about free speech itself. The brothers took their case to the press, sparking a national conversation about censorship and power. Even as the show faded from the air, its impact burned bright, inspiring a new wave of comedy that dared to challenge authority. The gavel fell in a Los Angeles courtroom, and with it, a seismic shift in television history. In April 1973, Tom and Dick Smothers stood triumphant, winning their lawsuit against CBS for wrongfully canceling their show. The jury awarded them $776,300, over $5.5 million in today's dollars, declaring that the network's censorship was an unjust excuse to silence their voice. It was a victory for every artist who dared to speak truth to power, a beacon of hope in an industry ruled by control. Yet, as Tom later reflected, the win was bittersweet. "We were cut off at the peak of our careers," he said, his words heavy with the weight of lost dreams. Could money ever replace the platform they'd built to challenge a nation? The 1980s brought an unexpected twist. In 1988, CBS, the network that had once banished them, invited the Smothers Brothers back for a one-hour reunion special, aptly titled The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, the 20th Reunion. It was a nostalgic nod to their past, featuring familiar faces like Steve Martin and Bob Einstein. The special earned 3 Emmy nominations and led to a full revival from March 1988 into August 1989. But the timing was off. A Writers Guild strike forced the brothers to lean on old routines and guest stars, and when new scripts arrived, the show lacked the daring edge of its predecessor. It earned 5 more Emmy nominations, but the spark was gone. Television had moved on, and the brothers' revolutionary spirit felt like a memory. Their legacy, however, was far from faded. In 2022, UC Santa Barbara's Performing Arts Collection welcomed their entire archive, contracts, scripts, photos, and recordings, a testament to their enduring impact. Curator David Suber called it a collection worthy of the Library of Congress, a shrine to their fight for free speech and their role in reshaping comedy. The Smothers Brothers had shown that humor could be a weapon, a mirror, and a call to action. Before Saturday Night Live redefined satire, Tom and Dick were already there, poking at war, politics, and censorship with a wit that was both playful and profound. Writers like Lorne Michaels, who later launched SNL, honed their craft in their writing room. Comedians like Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, and Samantha Bee carried their torch, proving comedy could challenge power and spark change. The show was a crucible for talent. Steve Martin, Rob Reiner, and George Carlin all cut their teeth on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, crediting the brothers for giving them a stage to take risks. The guest list was a cultural who's who. The Who, Jefferson Airplane, Simon and Garfunkel, and Pete Seeger, whose anti-war anthem, Waist Deep in the Big Muddy, broke a 17-year blacklist. The brothers even introduced Americans to the Beatles' Hey Jude promotional film, a precursor to the music video era. Bill Maher once summed it up. They weren't afraid to upset people. They showed comedy could take a stand and matter. That lesson echoed through decades, shaping the voice of modern satire. Tom Smothers, the creative force behind the duo, left a financial legacy as enduring as his comedic one. At his passing in December 2023, his net worth was estimated at $10 million, built through comedy, music, and savvy investments. In the early 1980s, he purchased a 115-acre ranch in Glen Ellen, California, where he built a 6,000-square-foot mansion, a retreat from the chaos of showbiz. Listed for $13.5 million in 2019, it sold for $7.2 million in 2023, reflecting his knack for real estate. While no records detail luxury cars or watches, Tom's lifestyle was comfortable, supported by comedy albums, live performances, and appearances in films like The Informant and Get to Know Your Rabbit. His musical talent shone in moments like playing guitar on John Lennon's Give Peace a Chance. Likely backed by comprehensive health and asset insurance, Tom's financial strategy emphasized diversification and resilience. His lesson? Adapt, invest wisely, and never stop creating, even when the odds are stacked against you. The Smothers Brothers' story is one of defiance, heartbreak, and triumph. They didn't just entertain, they reshaped a medium, proving that laughter could challenge authority and inspire a generation. In the words of Tom Smothers, freedom of speech isn't important unless it's heard. The Smothers Brothers fought to be heard, and their message still resonates today. If you believe in their cause, show your support. Like, comment, subscribe. And don't miss our next video on another fearless trailblazer.